3 panels this afternoon, and our first one is very exciting. It is called Own Your Narrative, the Power of Telling Your Story. So this panel is really going to explore the transformative impact of personal narratives. We all have a story to tell. So how sharing our experiences can empower, inspire, and drive change. Through storytelling, Asian women can reclaim their voices, challenge stereotypes, and shape the narrative of their own identities. This panel brings together really incredible storytellers, writers, and creators who have harnessed the power of their stories to build community, foster understanding, and carve out space in industries where representation matters. And it matters more than ever right now. So whether through literature, film, or advocacy, their journeys highlight how owning and telling your story can really be a catalyst for both personal and collective empowerment. And leading our panel discussion today is May Lee. Come on up, May. May is the host and executive producer at Lotus Media House, where she's led efforts to elevate Asian and Asian American narratives for more than 19 years through programs like Shoes Off Inside. Do you follow that?
Yay.
Shoes Off Inside, okay? Get it on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, focusing on authentic storytelling and cultural empowerment. And I just want to say this about May. May is really a trailblazer. She is bold, she is fearless, she is equitable and just, and not just as a Korean sister, but also as a journalist and storyteller. She is literally the best. And if I can say this without getting in trouble, she doesn't take shit from nobody, okay? She has a bullshit meter, and that is what we need in journalism and from Asian American women.
Amen, sister.
So anyway, I present you, May, and the panel.
Great, thank you. All right, panelists, come on up, because I'm going to introduce you here on stage, but we have a great panel. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I have been here now 3 years in a row at this event because I have supported these guys from the very beginning. Asians are strong. So it's wonderful to, thank you, whoever said that. Over there, thanks. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick introduction of all the panelists, some of whom you recognize, I'm sure. Villy Wang. Okay, I'm gonna go according to my list, so they're not in order seating wise. Sorry, okay. Oops. Villy is right there, yes? She's founder. Wow, you got a fan club. She is founder, president, and CEO of Baycat, which has been going on for 23 years. My gosh. Wow. Baycat's core belief and practice is to advance racial and economic equity by changing the storytellers and to create a new ecosystem to promote stories previously untold by those most misrepresented and underrepresented in traditional media. All right, and then we have Gail to Villy's right, Gail Ramasanta. She is a writer, artist, community organizer. Currently, she is artist in residence at Brava for Women in the Arts, located at Brava Theater in San Francisco, and the executive director of San Francisco's Filipino American Development Foundation. All right. And next to Villy's left, is Abigail Hing Wen, who we did a panel last year here as well, right? She is a New York Times best-selling author, producer, women in tech leader, specializing in AI. Her books include Love Boat Taipei and companion novels Love Boat Reunion and Love Boat Forever, yes. And Love Boat Taipei was made into a Paramount Plus original film, Love in Taipei, with Abigail being the executive producer. So she's quite the storyteller. And last but not least, my silver sister, Tamlyn Tomita. Tamlyn is a prolific actress, as we know. She's been in so many roles like Karate Kid, too.
Let's get the talk going.
No, I know, no, okay. But I have a confession. Tamlyn and I do a podcast together called Shoes Off Inside with Kelly Hu. I've never told you this. When Karate Kid 2 came out, I'm straight, by the way, but I totally fell in love with you. I was like, oh my God, who is this beautiful, anyway, I never told you this. Never told you this, yeah. Okay, we just made news tonight. Okay, we'll get started. But the one other thing I want to say about Tamlin is that she is so fiercely active in the political world, right? She is the chair of Kappa 21, which is a political action committee supporting AANHPI candidates and issues. So Tamlin, yes, I know. We'll get there. So yeah, lots to talk about. Great panel. All right, ladies, let's get started. So this is obviously about storytelling and owning your own narrative. It's a very general topic, but each of you are doing this work in different ways, right? And so, Gail, let me start with you since you're at the opposite end. You, last night at our speakers dinner, was telling me that you specifically wanted to tell the Filipino story because that's what you grew up with, that's what you know, but you also realized that that was a story that wasn't being told, that wasn't being focused on, that not a lot of people know about. So tell us how you've taken your craft and been able to project that in the way that it should and has been successful to you.
I think for the audience, just to know a little bit, I think, especially if you're on a trajectory and you're a young artist, right? So many of us are not encouraged to become artists. And for myself, I think I knew from a very, very young age that I knew I wanted to be a writer. And as an adult, that is how I put food on the table, right? I became a writer, and then I have 4 children. And it was very, very important for me to tell a Filipino-American story, but also to show Filipino-Americans and Asian Americans really woven in the thread of American history. And so I've been on this 5-year-long journey. I've been an artist for over 20 years now. I actually went to law school and decided to get an MFA in the middle of it and ended up doing my MFA. My parents absolutely supported me. But I think that you have to really know who you are. Like at that point, I knew that I wasn't going to be an attorney. I knew I wanted to be a writer. And from there, it opened the door. I got pregnant, and I still thought to myself, I am going to be so prolific as a mother, much more than I was as a single person without a family. And I decided to do that. And all these other doors started opening for me. I ended up co-composing the first Google Philippines commercial. It's been a while now. I think it was like 2011 or 2014. I can't even remember. I'm up there now. I'm getting up there. And so in any case, it's very important to me to tell our history, but to talk about the anti-Asian hate that happens, that when people and mainstream don't want you to tell the story. So specifically, I've been working on Filipino Americans in the farm worker movement, in the movement from the 1920s until the 1970s. And so people don't really know that. How many of you know who Cesar Chavez is? Right, everyone knows who Cesar Chavez is. So in the 1920s, Filipinos came here as cheap labor, and they actually were protesting and were coming together with unions. And they were also doing solidarity work with African Americans. And you can see these in all of the files and the UW archives and just a lot of research there. But I really wanted to show that Filipino Americans started the Great Delano Grape Strike, and for some reason or the other, media and some other powers that be did not want Asians to be at the forefront of this very important moment, civil rights movement for farm workers. They did not want Asian Americans to be at the forefront of it. And that absolutely changed the face of California, the face of our economy here. And we were written out of the story for many, many years.
So Gail, sorry, I'm going to hop in because that is what's been happening over, a century or longer, is the either, the erasure or just not even part of the story, right? So you're saying that you decided to focus on this community that hadn't been recognized at all in all of these movements, right? The importance of that. So I'm going to hop around just so we can get...
I'm going to do a workshop later. I'm kidding. I'm joking. But thank you.
And Gail told me last night at the speakers, she's like, I tend to ramble, so just jump in if you need to. And I'm like, oh, honey, don't worry, I will. But no, I just wanted to get the mix, right? So with Abigail, I'm going to jump to you. You went from being in business and AI, but then you went into storytelling with your books that have been highly successful. What these books, even though there's fiction, it's fictional and romance and all of that, but there's still a heart to it in terms of representation, in terms of that storytelling that's important to you. What was your purpose in writing these stories, and how has that resonated to the readers and obviously the people who watch the television version?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all of you for coming out on a Saturday and supporting our work and supporting the work of Asian Women Are Strong. Like none of us can do what we're doing without your support, and we are so grateful. I grew up in Ohio, and I was one of the very few Asian Americans in my school.
I did too.
Amazing. It's a very different experience. I am jealous, actually, of all of you who get to grow up with such diversity here, and to get to hear from Asian American leaders. I just didn't have any of that. So as a kid, I was running away from my heritage. I wanted to assimilate and just be like everyone else around me and be like the people on TV that I saw, none of whom were Asian American. And I found my best friends in books. Laura Ingalls, The Chronicles of Narnia, A Wrinkle in Time. And when you love books, you just want to live between those pages and drop in those worlds. But I knew that if I did drop into Laura Ingalls' world, she wouldn't have accepted me. She might have, but her mother definitely would not have. And so there was always this sadness in me in realizing even like those characters I love so much wouldn't have accepted me. And so as I started to become a writer, I actually also went to law school. I think there's 3 lawyers on this panel. I went to law school because I cared about representation. I cared about social justice, and I pursued those in my career, but I found that I was able to do all of it in my writing by creating stories that did allow Asian Americans to be the main character. So this
Character energy. Yeah.
This topic today is so perfect. I didn't see Asian Americans as main characters, and so for so long, I didn't know I could be a main character in my own story. So that is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, speaking of main character, Tamlin knows very well what it's like to be a main character on screen. So she can channel that a little bit, but really, Tamlin, you have gone from acting your entire life, but then also crossing over to activism and using your identity as an actress, as a main character, into real life to be able to convey the issues that are important to you and our community. So talk about what that's like to look, I love people who have the platform, who already have the recognition, right? Who then use it for a very positive purpose. And Tamlin is one of those people. So tell people about that work that you do and why that it's so important to you in where you are now and where our country is today, because we're going to get there too.
Holy moly, Mei Lee.
Yes,
holy moly. Again, I'd like to just echo all the panelists here, and it's just a joy and an honor to be with each and every one of you. But most importantly, to every single one of you who is in this room together today, can I just take a moment to affirm each and every one of you? Can we just all say, we are strong?
We are strong.
First row, look behind you at the person, follow every row, look behind you. Affirm the person behind you, look that person in the eye, and say, you are strong. You are strong. And then, to whomever you want to shout it out to the gods, to our beloveds who've passed on before us, to the children in this room, to the children that you will have, or to your partner in this room, say, I am strong.
I am strong.
That's what I need to affirm. That is main character energy. You are the main character in your own story. You are the main character in this room. However, because there's always a however, it's context. You should be the main character in your story. Do not let anybody take your energy away. Context. That's a very big compliment that you said I'm a main character. I love being a supporting character. Not all of us can be the stars, not all of us could be the headliner, not all of us can be the main character, but it's the energy you own, you control, that you invest. You take that energy and you get to choose, is this about my story? Yes, I am the main character. But if I'm a supporting character, yes, I'm going to support the story that needs to be told to all of us. That's a simple lesson in what I carry with me every single time, not every day, every single time I am blessed, I'm privileged, I'm honored, I'm asked to be part of a panel, because this is my job, to try to lasso my wealth of experience. It's 41 years this year. So whatever wisdom I have, whatever experience I can have, I'll have it with you in one-on-one conversations, but here, collectively with these sisters I know there's kids in this room, on International Women's Day, I'm trying to affirm the feminine energy today because we are the creators. We are the ones who menstruate. We are the ones who give our blood literally to bring life to this earth. If we choose not to, or if we cannot, we still have that energy within every single one of these female energies, energy holders, energy entities in this room. So affirming you all, this is about who we are today. It's the energy. Main character, yes. Supporting character, yes. Lesser character, characters who were in our past, and characters who are going to become. That is who we are in this moment, connecting all our circles in this room, in all the rooms that we get honored to occupy.
Preach. Tamlin does this all the time. She is so powerful when she gets going. It's just very inspiring, so I just sit back and listen. But thank you for that. Villy, so you've been doing the BayCat for 23 years, which is about empowering young people, those who are marginalized, those who are voiceless. And I speak as a journalist here on this stage. That's why I got into journalism. It is the storytelling to give voice to the voiceless, to highlight stories that are never told, to provide, hopefully, factual, truthful information to viewers and listeners. That is under sort of some strain right now, as we know. So all the more reason we need to tell these stories in whatever way, whatever capacity. So Villy, you have empowered young people to be able to find their voice and to be able to tell their stories. How important is that now, especially since so many voices are being silenced, and then younger people, I worry that the younger generation is now just gonna sit back and say, okay, you know what, this is too much for me. So what do you see, and what are you doing?
Oh my God, how do you follow the preacher though? Here? Woo! Can we just give it up? Thank you for that affirmation, I felt it. Just wanna amplify that, thank you. I think the power of every person's voice. At BayCat, we like to say every person's story matters. So as I say that, how do you feel at this moment? Do you feel your story matters? I don't care how old you are, because there's an ageism. I mean, you're 40 years, I'm like, oh, make that jump 10. I've been working since I was a kid, right? How many people feel their story matters to this moment, right now? Be proud, where's your hands? All right. Okay, so I think as I just share, right, I feel like it has taken me decades, and I don't want young people to wait that long. And I think everybody here does our work because it just took too long, right? The power of my own narrative and story came from the absence of story, not just in media. I had a mother that never read to me. I had to give a baby's book at a baby shower, and they said, pick your favorite baby's book. I was like, sorry. I was never read to, and my mother never shared her stories at bedtime. And as I try to think back, I'm gonna go fictional. What did we do at bedtime? What was that ritual? So when something—
Math problems?
Yeah, right? Math problems, right? When something is that intergenerationally, not just trauma, it's habit, it's perception, it's an intergenerational lack of perception that your story matters. So everything that I have done when it started as a child to as a teenager, not seeing myself on screens, my favorite show was The Brady Bunch. When Joy Luck Club came out and I read the book, right? That was the first time I actually saw myself in a novel. And I am of the generation, like you, where it just was non-existent, right? And the Brady Bunch basically became the Baycat Bunch. So as our youth, as I share my story, but more importantly, so A, don't take too long. I'm glad to see your hands and that you believe your story matters. But then the question is how? And I think having been on Wall Street as a commercial investment banker, having been a corporate lawyer, having been in the courtrooms, having been in so many different places, to this day, Abigail and I were just talking about how difficult it is to get into the film industry. I mean, there are still the tropes. When I talk about my story, and I was a TED speaker, people, I was on a TED stage. There is a trope, there is a formula that media, Hollywood expects us to continue to be. I'm the rags out of riches girl. I grew up in the sweatshop. Let's start there. Let's start with the trauma. But I'm sorry, we are much more than that. And I think when we work with our youth and we empower them, it's a lot of layers, which is A, your story matters now. What do you want to say? What's important to you? And it could be as simple as the video games that you're playing, whatever that is, but you, every individual in this room, is part of a bigger system, this ecosystem. And how many of our decisions, Amanda before was just amazing. Yep. Did you hear her? Right? How many decisions are based on a system that we think we cannot control? So the start of Baycat really came from my voiceless mom, her believing her story does not matter. I'm wearing her jewelry. I'm wearing the coat she made for me, because even though she is not on this planet, I wanted her to be seen. And so by wanting that, that is the personal story. Let me get professional. The professional Villy needed to make money. Come on, people. My mom was working 3 jobs. I grew up in the sweatshops. We had no assets. Right? So on the one hand, I had to make money. On the other hand, I'm like, how do I get my mom to be seen? Because if she doesn't believe she matters, then guess what? Her daughter does not matter. So I have spent my entire lifetime basically then creating Baycat so we could now, our North Star, I'm very proud to say this, and it's thousands of people who have made this happen, so it's not me. We are becoming the premier anti-racist creative career pathway, because everything that we're talking about is a system that continues to see us in a certain way. And what we need to do is not just say to yourself, I am important, I am the main character, but it's also to say, what is this main character system that we're in? Talking about the politics.
Well,
and what do we need to change?
I'm gonna jump in now.
So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in now because the system right now is being dismantled.
Yes.
Right? And there's redefinition going on left and right and center. I mean, just everything that's happening. And I don't have to spell it out for everyone, right? You know what I'm referring to, right? It's the Trump administration. I'm gonna get political now because this is something that affects every single one of us. You cannot detach yourself from what's going on, right? And as women of color, we're the ones who probably will suffer more than anyone else with this destruction of diversity and representation and storytelling. They're trying to erase the stories. They're trying to take it out of textbooks. They're trying to interfere with university activities. I mean, we can go on and on. So this, I think, panel, we now need to pivot to what we're faced with right now. This is a crisis. We are in crisis mode, and we should all be prepared to deal with it in individual ways, right? And like Tamlin was saying, you don't have to be the main character front and center if that's not your skill set. So what is your skill set? How do you use your stories? How do you become bold, in your own way? So anybody want to jump in with that idea of like, in this time of crisis, where our democracy is at stake, our freedom is at stake, and those who are marginalized are going to be even more marginalized. How do we become more bold in taking action, especially for those who aren't used to doing it, right? Maybe a little bit timid. Maybe it's not part your personality. Tamlin, you want to?
I think it's also a matter of practice, because I don't think any of us, would any of you come up on stage and talk about what is effective in, or what would be your designs on making a bold statement? It takes practice. So what I encourage is for all of us nonprofits to actually connect with each other, not compete with each other, is to actually say we are in alignment with what you do. Is like what resources you could apply to that nonprofit and ask back from that nonprofit. That's a question that was earlier on today from Amanda's talk about nonprofits seem to be always going for the scraps. I know there's a lot of community organizers here. Money is going to be fucking tight. I'm sorry, that's the bottom line. The administration is stripping away. We're probably illegal right now because we're under a DEI thing just by the faces that we carry and walk around in this world. And those who are not Asian American or people of color, the allies that I want to acknowledge who are Caucasian, we are in this room together. So it's about really first identifying the fight or the issue, slim down. There's so much to address. Find something that you can devote your energy. Take care of yourself, take care of your families first. Then find the issue that you can say, hey, I think we could do something together. I think we could do an event together. I think I can help your book together. Find out small, start small. It'll roller coaster, it will pebble, it will boulder. And that's the kind of unity we're all seeking. It's about action. It's not about the phones, I'm sorry. It's about, that's why I made you look each other in the eye. Because you do not know the power that comes through beyond what I'm saying, to look at a person and say, I unite with you. We're going to fight this and we're going to win this together.
Thank you, Tamlin. Somebody else jump in when it comes to the period, the time we're in now, and how are you fearful that your storytelling abilities are going to be hampered? They're going to be restricted? And if so, how do you plan to navigate that? Gail.
I think, so my day job, I am executive director of Filipino American Development Foundation, and we run Soma Pilipinas, Filipino Cultural Heritage District in downtown San Francisco. And, you know, on my other side, I'm also an artist and been pushing work for the last 20 some odd years that is specifically about the Filipino American experience. And what I've learned is that we've got to pave the way ourselves. The system won't recognize us. And in my experience, it hasn't. And it refuses to tell the nuanced stories and the nuanced needs that my community, that my family, that our community wants. We're not stereotypes, we're not tropes, but we need very real stories where we're at the center of it, and people who are writing it, people who are conceiving this, who are actually people of color, and the vetting team are people of color, so that these stories stay pure and they don't get turned into stereotypes. And sometimes what that looks like is that you must build your own roads, and it's hard, but you find really good friends and really good artists and other community members who will support you and will join with you. And sometimes, in my experience, you fund it yourself. I don't know, so I also created a publishing company because no one had written a children's book about Filipino Americans' history or a Filipino American baby's book. And so I started doing that because I needed it for my family. And I talked to my husband and I said, hey, listen, I need your 401k. And he gave me some of his 401k, and we funded and we crowdfunded the first book about Filipino American history, the children's book. And that was Journey for Justice, The Life of Larry Itliong. And so after that, that actually is now being taught throughout the United States at the collegiate level from K through 14, K through 16. Then after that, I started working with composer Brian Pangilinan, who is here, on Larry the Musical. And we actually took out loans. I took a loan against my house. He took also out a family loan. And we told ourselves, we are going to do this. And it was so expensive to put out a musical. But you know what? We just told ourselves we are committed and we have faith in our community. Our community wants our stories. Our community wants to know about who they are and what the conditions were to create our communities and how strong we are. We need to be reflected. And we took that commitment, and we had so much faith that we were able to make it back. I paid back the loan, we paid back the loans, we made money, and we reinvested it in other projects. And
so you were able to recoup everything that you put in.
Very few theater projects these days actually make money. We had a high return on investment. And so that shows you how hungry our people are to see real stories about themselves and that they're interwoven and that they're American. They are not just these stereotypes of what people think that an Asian American is. They're very much nuanced, and we talk about context, but it really is the conditions of who we are, and the only people that can tell that is us. The only people who can vet our stories is us. And if
Gail, I'm going to jump in again because I think you took on so much risk. That was like hugely courageous what you did.
Oh, it was nuts.
The average person would not do that. That is for sure, right? How many people in this room would do that? What she did, right? Yeah, there's no hands going up, right?
And I'm not a
There's one
person.
Okay, good for you. Good for you.
I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire by any means.
That's what I'm saying. So that is incredibly sort of like 1 in a million, right? And you were able to be successful. However, most people would not do that, right? So that's
risk.
That's why I'm asking in terms of, look, people in this room, they, like Tamlin said, who's willing to come up on stage and tell their story? Probably not that many people. So there's got to be an element of practicality when it comes to storytelling and getting that story out without taking this kind of huge risk.
Well, here,
right?
if you don't take risk, you will not get that back in dividends. And I'm talking about community. And let's not talk about money. Let's talk about community engagement. Let's talk about community building. If you do not support our leadership who actually put ourselves out there and are actually trying to change policies, who are, asking for a piece of the pie, who are asking to sit at the table, or who are asking and need support to actually build the table because there are no tables for us, they are taking on a huge risk, they and their families in this day and age, especially when we talk about doxing, especially when we talk about things that people, how very much we're politically vilified. And so it's not necessarily finance. Finances is one risk. Yeah. But when you don't take that risk to support, you don't take that risk to speak up, then you cannot reap the benefits of being able to tell your story and to normalize it. Because none of this was ever normalized before the 21st century. We all had to risk and had to fight for it. And so it's not just money. It is absolutely personal risk that financially, it's a physicality, but politically and personally is absolutely one of the body because there is violence upon us. And it might be emotional, but these are the very big risks that leaderships take in nonprofit landia, in nonprofit or in art making. And
that's true.
Not just financial at all.
Okay, I want Abigail to jump in here because clearly you have been able to tell your stories through a very successful line of books, a series of books, and then into a series. So for you, was there risk involved there in terms of putting it out there, or was this something that you were surprised by it being embraced in that way? And do you think that's going to change given the current climate that we're in?
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's always hard to publish our books, and it's always hard to make a movie. And people ask me, how did the Love Boat Taipei book get on the New York Times list? And really there's 3 factors. One, We were very strategic about choosing the right publisher. So HarperCollins published it. It was one of their largest book deals over the past few years. And we chose them because we knew they would put marketing dollars behind it. Two, Barnes & Noble picked the book as their young adult book club pick, and so that saved my books from pandemic, because I came out in January 2020, and in February, all around the country in Barnes & Noble stores, they were reading my book, and then in March, everything got shut down. And that actually really hurt me because I had a huge in-store rollout. I was in Target, Costco, all the independent bookstores, Barnes & Noble, and the point was for discovery, for new readers to discover the books. And there was no one to come and discover it. And there was no one Googling to find my book because they didn't know who I was. They didn't know anything about my book. So Target to this day still will not stock my books because that first set of Love Boat type of books didn't sell through.
Aren't we supposed to boycott
Target's on the blacklist anyway.
And they don't care. They don't care that it was pandemic, that I was a new author. They just there's someone making a decision that has decided, well, your books didn't sell through that first time, and so therefore they've never stocked my books since. So the third reason why we got on the New York Times list was the Asian American community. They really came out for the book. They knew that there was a movie deal on the table, and they wanted to see the book get all the way to the screen, and we did it. We really did it, and beyond grateful. And so I think those alliances matter more than ever now, exactly as you were saying. So my newest book, we just filmed a short film prequel starring Lea Salonga, who was my childhood hero. It's my directorial debut. She supported my first book launch, and then she's supporting this one. It's my fifth book, and I'm supporting Third State Books, which is an Asian American publishing house based here in the Bay Area. I really wanted to publish something with them, and this book I actually wrote before Love Boat. It's a book of my heart. I love it. It's about an inventor family in Silicon Valley that's neurodiverse. They're a mixed race family. The kid is half Asian, and they build a virtual fantasy world that ends up saving their family in the real world. So this comes out in September, and the way, Third State Books is a startup, and so I'm asking everyone to pre-order the hard copy, because that's how we get onto the bestseller lists, pre-ordering the hard copy, especially from Barnes & Noble and local independent bookstores.
Are you worried, though, that moving forward, that there's going to be more restrictions on stories like this, where it's a mixed family? And,
it is absolutely difficult. The stories will still be published, but they will get less visibility because people are afraid that they're going to be preferencing, or are we doing a DEI thing if we support this Asian story? For example, there's a big tech company that has supported every single one of my book launches. They're going to support this one too, but their team came back to me and they said, you know what? The rules are different this time. We have to navigate it differently. And it's because of the changes in DEI policy. They will get me through, they will get this book through, but it's gonna take more work. And I think that's just what we have to realize.
Because you already have the contact, right? So you have already built the relationship, but imagine somebody new trying to break in now,
yes.
Right?
So we have to be willing to do that extra work, and that is our actually advantage as like an immigrant community or that has struggled for so long, is we have resilience. And that's really what is going to keep us going through this and weather this particular storm. We're going to come through on the other side just fine.
That's true. Tamlin, look, people love you because of all the roles you've been in, so I have to ask you a Hollywood, related question when it comes to what's happening and what you think may happen, again, given the climate. We've been making inroads in representation in Hollywood, right, in film and television, a lot of inroads. So that's been improving, but again, my fear, just as a layperson, and I'm in journalism, but you guys know about the 7 anchors of color at MSNBC that were all let go, or their shows were canceled. Joy Reid, Katie Fang, Alex Wagner, right? So that's happening in my business. Do you think, or do you see something happening in Hollywood that is reversing, or do you think Hollywood's going to continue pushing?
No,
Yeah?
no, because it's all about money. I think, and Billy, this is just being in alignment with you as well as Gail and Abigail. The truth of the matter is Hollywood is always going to run on fucking money. Yep. Come on, let's be realistic about it. It's like if you are, if you happen to have a great story like Love Boat Taipei, it's going to get picked up, but the unfortunate timing is that it wasn't. Larry the Musical, that was produced and put up late last year was put up. It's again trying to talk to Gail and trying to give her my insight as to these kinds of performances, these kinds of stories. So my comment is that I'm part Filipino American. I'm very proud of Larry Itlong, the musical. So my concern is to not silo that it's a Filipino American story. It's a fucking American story.
Yep.
Get it out of our safe Filipino American communities. Get it out of our Asian American communities and go, this is a guy who fought for the food that's put on your tables and that you don't see. And many of us are descendants of. That's the kind of the kind of like directive, because live theater is where it's at. My little plug is that my husband and I are building a live theater in Highland Park, California, and we want to put up stories, much in alignment with Baycat, underrepresented, undervoiced stories that don't get a chance because it's all about making the fucking money.
Yep, it's all about money.
So it's about these kinds of stories that Gail wants to write. It's about the stories that Gail wants to produce. It's the kind of stories that Billy has been telling in honor of our mother.
But the more important thing is that we have to support
Correct.
the theater and
Correct.
these plays that are coming out. We have to show up.
Exactly. And to the point, really quickly winding up, is that if you're not Filipino American, go see Larry the Musical. Yeah. If you're not Taiwanese, go read Love Boot Taipei. If you're not Asian American, go support the projects at Baycat. We're all in this fucking together.
Yes. Preach, girl, preach. Preach this stuff.
I can't believe I haven't dropped the F-bomb yet, and Tamlin has like 5 times, because that's my favorite word, just FYI. But yes, so I remember when I interviewed George Takei, wonderful George Takei, a while ago, yes, oh my. But he made such a valid point about our community, and this was several years ago, so it's changed, but still I think there's some room for improvement. He said, you know, when you look at the Black American community, the African American community, they show up for an August Wilson play on Broadway. They show up. And he's like, but David Henry Hwang play, it will be mostly white people or like non-Asians. And he's like, we gotta show up. Or else our stories are not going to be told, because people are gonna use that as an excuse saying, look, your community doesn't care, right? So it is vitally important to show that support.
I want to say, actually, I went to see Yellowface on Broadway, and guess who was sitting behind me? George.
Oh, he was there.
I had like a moment. I was like, oh my God. Like, can I sit? Can I take a picture? I had to do that, but there we were, right? And I was just blown away. I think I want to like, I know our time is wrapping, but just to piggyback on everything that you're saying, we could be, you know, there's always flight, fear, and you want to just bury your head in the sand. I want to lead with hope. Joy! And joy. I think everything and everyone here represents, and what you were just talking about, is that back to every person's story matters, you matter. And I do believe, the other thing I like to say is, we need good people everywhere. So it doesn't matter where you are at this moment, and that if you feel like, yes, I get it, I do it too, turn off the phone, bury your head in the sand, like go, I live near the ocean and I go scream at the ocean. That's my way to like let it go. You gotta do that. But you also can't bury your head in the sand so much that you don't know what's happening, right? The DEI stuff and the executive orders immediately is like, oh my God, are we gonna lose our funding? So you have the fear. Hope, we're not gonna live there. You have to be intelligent and know how to address it, right? And also do the punch list. How much of this are they just trying to excite us and get us scared so we freak out? How much of this can we actually control? What parts can we control? And the lawyer in me is gonna say, do the analysis, because you don't have to freak out. You can check off the list and see what's the next thing you could do, right? And then find your allies. And this is where I'm gonna bring the youth back into it. Our youth in this last semester just created a piece that is about incredible muralists in the Mission, and it's called Painting Resistance. The short is gonna be at the Nifty Film Festival as well as the San Francisco Film Festival. These are kids, okay, they're not kids, the youth crew are, we work with youth as young as 11. This group was probably about 13 to 17. For some of them, it was their first short, And they knew not that much about the Palestinian, maybe like what they see in the news. So back to truth and media. Part of this is like, we now with AI, they could take your image and they could make you say anything. You, not just a superstar out there, you. So if we're at the place where truth is being molded and you're not even sure what that is, the biggest thing I would say that we need to teach each other and our young people is that critical media thinking of what is truth and why do you believe in it and what do you stand for? Do you see yourself in this and why, right? That critical thinking is something you have to do as you scroll. Do I care? But back to hope. These young people who did this film, when they had their little screening and they stood up there and they were, what did they do? They thanked each other because it's about your community, and they said, I want to figure out how I could do more of this. Yeah. So just like you said, Tamala, every single person, you wanted to tell your story because it needed to happen. And so I believe these young people are in the same place. So let's keep doing it together, okay. Yes?
All right, we have time for some Q&A. So if anyone has a question for any of the panelists, please raise your hand. I think somebody's going to be walking around with a mic. Anyone? No questions, really? I'll keep on going then. Yeah. Nope. No questions? Okay. I don't have to force you. No, it's okay. I have plenty of questions. Yeah, over here. Yeah. Over here with the map. I'll go give it. Yep. Okay. And this one here too. Whose question? Yeah, and there's another one over here. But yeah, run. He's Speed Racer. Yes, there we go.
Hi, thank you. That was all very inspiring, and I love the energy that you're all bringing and reminders of the crisis moment that we live in right now. Thank you for that. My question is, when you do have those moments of not believing in yourself anymore and you feel a little bit in the rut, what is your ritual for picking yourself back up and making yourself believe in yourself again? Thanks.
That's a good one. That's good. Who wants to take that one?
It happened to me. I hit rock bottom when I went out for 2 promotions, and I came in number 2 for both. And then my Love Boat Taipei book was rejected at version 25 by some very important decision maker. And it was my community that came around to me, my critique partners. They picked me back up, put me on my feet again, and they said, your stuff is good. There's some reason you're not getting through the gates. You got to keep going. And they gave me great advice for how to revise. And the rest is history. So surround yourself with wonderful people who know what you're trying to do and support you.
I'll say sometimes it just sucks, right? And sometimes you have to wallow for a little bit and not feel like, oh, I'm superwoman, it's okay, and I can take it. Yes, let yourself feel the pain of whether it's rejection or depression or hopelessness, because we're human. You have to feel these emotions, right? But at the end of the day, for me, it's like, okay, do I still feel like I have a purpose? Do I still feel like I can contribute in some way? And that's where I think all of us are saying, find what it is that inspires you and gives you that hope. Find what it is that makes you get out of bed, right? Something that you care about enough, right? To make you take that step. And it might be a tiny step, but you gotta keep going, right? So, but sometimes you just have to wallow for a little bit, eat some chocolate, have some wine, pet your dog, because that's what I do. You gotta do whatever brings you that comfort for a little while.
Mine answer was potato chips.
Potato chips.
You said chocolate. That's
shrimp chips? I love those, actually.
Oh
All
my
that
God,
comfort food, right?
Shrimp chips, oh my God.
But it's my dog for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Question right here? Or no, oh, sorry. I think she had your hand, you had your hand up? Yep. Can somebody get her a mic?
Thank you. I want to say thank you for everything. As a person who is half Asian and then also neurodiverse, I find it really hard in the acting community and stuff to find different jobs, because even when we do have opportunities, they're always we want a full Asian person, and it's very hard to struggle with that. So do you have any tips on how to find roles that are meant for us? Because even in Disney, we have tons of Asian people now, but it's still no one's like half Asian, half another race.
I empathize and sympathize with you because not being full Japanese, but being half, not quarter, because I'm Okinawan and Filipino, you're going to run into that. That is the reality. So, your story is not going to exist on the Disney platform. You have a machine called the iPhone or the mobile phone that you can create your own story and throw it up on YouTube, share it with your friends, because that's how to practice. That's an important overlooked lesson here.
That.
You got to practice telling your story. You can't just say, you got to practice, because we are investing our time in listening to your story.
Yes.
So get good at it. Get awesome at it. I have to stop swearing. Get super undeniable about the power of your story. Being neurodiverse is another, because having had the luck to work with Good Doctor and the knowledge that I gained personally, that's a whole other realm that you are the expert at. So practice, again, write as well, because any of those people who are artists are here, write, because you then get control of it. And that's a real secret to owning your power.
I would add apply. You should apply anyways, even if you don't fit the criteria. So when we cast for Love Boat Taipei, we chose Ashley as Ever Wong, and we chose the second girl from the same pool, even though we didn't bill it as casting for Sophie Ha. So we found Chelsea Zhang through that. So I think apply and just get used to rejection, because every rejection is a step along the way to finding the yes.
And you have to find your community also. I mean, there's so much thought on you're 100% your ethnicity and 100% of the other ethnicity. You can't, the perspective needs to change that you're 100% of both, that you're not half. And you have to find the people who agree with you and embrace you in that way and do not other you. When we had chosen our lead for Larry the Musical, she was half African American and half Pinay. And she wasn't going to, she is amazing. She wasn't going to actually try out for the part because she thought that we were just going to put her in the back, because she always felt othered in Filipino American family circles or in Filipino communities because she was black and because it was colorism. And so she tried out, didn't think anything of it. We cast her, we told her she was the lead, and she was dumbfounded. She was shocked. And so we were like, what are you talking about? You are absolutely main character energy. Like, I don't even know what, but we found each other. And we found each other, uplifted each other up, and we were able to tell a story together. So I think you definitely need to find your people who are not going to other you and who absolutely embrace 100% of who you are.
It's like what Mimi was saying in her keynote, don't doubt yourself. Yes. Don't second guess yourself. And even if you fail, at least you tried, right? So go ahead and apply, right? Why not? It's not going to hurt anything except you get rejected, but you try again, okay? All right, we had another question. I think you had your hand up next. Yes.
Hi, y'all. I know Abigail and Gail represent the Filipino community. My question has to do with abundance mindset and how we think about that during these times. As Abigail knows, I'm trying to work on another company to hopefully fund both tech and content. If you work in the space of AI, crypto, and VR, there's plenty of frickin' money for cis straight white men. My question is directed around that mindset, just because I don't know if, Gail, you can disclose this. Like, how much did Larry the Musical cost? I didn't get a chance to go, but I think about this in context of a film like Anora, which had a $6 million budget. And when I was working on my last company, and I was working with someone who was ex-Lucasfilm, and they're used to $100 million budgets. So, I would love your insight, especially you too, Tamlin, just looking at how can we reframe in our community an abundance mindset that maybe you don't need $100 million to make a film. Maybe you don't need to have, and granted, hey, we should get that money anyway if we ask for it. But I would love your thoughts on that, just because I think the perspective from a lot of Silicon Valley investors is that Silicon Valley owns Hollywood, and Hollywood doesn't monetize. For me to break even on a single film is about 4x, and then they look at we're going to invest in AI because that's 1,000x profit. So it's just the margins, when you look at it, it doesn't make sense. And so it's really challenging for someone like me that's been an advocate for the Filipino American community in tech. And I did used to fundraise for the founder of Tech for Obama. So I know where all the money is. There's plenty of it, but trying to put that in a business perspective is difficult.
For us, Larry, over 5 years, we raised $600,000 or a little bit more than that. And so we were able to have payroll and everything. We made payroll 2 months before we went on, or like maybe even 6 weeks, like not even 2 months. But we needed payroll because we had union actors and we needed to show. But in any case, I think that we were very, very lucky that we had community. And so just in all of tech, in most instances, it's BIPOC folks who are running the show. Right? It's BIPOC folks who are not in the management, they're not creative leads, but they're actually doing the work. And we were lucky and grateful enough to find those people, and they came and they said, we want to help you, and it's not going to cost anything. In fact, I have $50,000 worth of video equipment, and we're going to do your video. Shout out, he's not here, Chris Sotelo. He works at Google, one of the leading videographers over there. He was like, this story needs to be told. Billy Bustamante, who was the assistant director for Here Lies Love on Broadway, he heard this. We didn't have any money. He was like, I'm directing this story. We had another person who also was music director, and he's co-composer, Sean Khanna, who also is a Broadway music director. He came on board. He was like, you don't have money? I'm with you. This story needs to be told. So everybody, like all of these folks actually do the work, and they're all BIPOC, and you need to find them, knit them together, and somehow when you get that team together, that unicorn, that magical unicorn, and I'm not saying every level has to be magical unicornness, you know what I'm saying? But you have to find your folks, and that is gonna propel you to the next level, and you find your one champion. You need one champion. You only need one yes. You find your one yes, and they will help you champion your work. And that is the one thing. You can have, it's a million ways to skin a cat, right? You just need one way, and you need one champion. And that could be yourself, or you just need to find someone who's able to open those doors for you. Just one.
Yeah, just a quick comment. Anybody who's interested in making a film in San Francisco, I'm also president of the Film Commission. There is a rebate program for films that are primarily being shot and filmed in San Francisco. You want to learn more about that, please go to thefilmsf.gov, because I think to the abundance point, we're breaking the mold, right? The formulas that we're talking about, there are formulas out there. Let's keep breaking the mold. So resources are there for you. Anybody else?
One last question. Let's just take one last question right here.
Hi everyone, I'm Dong Lan. I'm from Vietnam. Then
Hold the mic a little bit.
Okay, sorry. I'm Dong Lan. I'm from Vietnam. I am dressed like you, but I love women so much. I adore women. Then I would love to give more things for women. Then I think today the universe just like make me jump to the event that even I don't know before. I just did morning. Me and my sister and I would just like run, and then we'd be here. And my project I do for women, like music projects named Red Moon. The name I call for the period. Like I said, if taboo say it, so let's sing it together. And I have a very hard time to finding like the funding. So how to have money to pay the musician, and it's hard. And you know, like I just want to say like thank you so much, because you guys here is the flower to blooming I believe that when women happy, the world blooming, and today is the Women Day. And I just want to say thanks so much. You guys inspire me, and I know that inspire everyone. And I just want to say like la vie en rose. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, il me parle tout bas. La vie en rose, la 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 la. La vie en rose. Thank you so much. Happy Women's Day.
Wow, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that we can end on that lovely tune. Thank you for that impromptu concert. But I want to thank all of my panelists. I want to thank everyone for attending. So enjoy the rest of your day. Lots of other workshops and panels coming up. Thank you.
Okay, selfie time.